Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing the video, and I'm saying there's been fighting in the channel for an entire month. And today, I'm going to join the fray. Oh man, so this is one I definitely wanted to do. It's been a while since I've done one. I don't think I did it last year. I did a couple of years ago after like season 4, I think, or 3, something like that. It's interesting that both of these series started in the same year, passed through to season 6 now. So they both just wrapped up their season 6s. But the future outlook of the shows is quite a bit different. With The Walking Dead, AMC has kind of promised us, and we're looking at many seasons left to go. They've hinted at possibly into the teens of seasons, going into season 7 and further, with 16 episode seasons. And Game of Thrones is starting to wrap up. It's only going to have 2 more, and they're going to be shorter. There's only going to be like 13 episodes left. So almost in comparison, it's like a season and a half almost. So both of them have definitely different outlooks, and once Game of Thrones fully ends, we can compare both. And I'm going to bring in Breaking Bad, I think, a few times throughout the conversation for this comparison, because that's another series that was done with extremely good quality. So some people get confused with this one. After I did my Game of Thrones reviews for the last 2 episodes of season 6, I did say that both episodes are the 2 best episodes of any series I have ever seen. And I meant it. It was not a screw up. I didn't say it and then be like, okay, maybe it wasn't that good. No, they really were that good. Battle of the Bastards and The Winds of Winter really were 2 of the best episodes of any series I have ever seen, ever. Right up there with probably Walking Dead's best, of course, which would be, I would say, No Way Out, of course. You had Too Far Gone, which was great, and No Sanctuary. Those are probably like your top 3 best episodes The Walking Dead has ever done. And I feel like with regards to the last 2, Game of Thrones just did some incredible stuff in those 2 episodes and put together 2 of the best episodes ever made in any TV series ever. I would say the 2 best. So these 2 series are quite a bit different. The time slots are different. The feels of the series are different. The amount of time they're going to go for is different. If we have in Game of Thrones an episode where you have 10 major characters or pretty big characters that are killed off in one episode, that's pretty insane. That's pretty nuts. Walking Dead is something where we never really get to see anything like that, but that's because, I would say, or at least for the most part, sometimes there may be some stuff coming up in the future where we get to see a huge event like that, but a lot of those characters won't be your A-listers. In Game of Thrones, they will kill just about anybody, and they do. And sometimes they kill, in a couple episodes, many, many characters that have been in the series for years and years and years. I'm talking like the Red Wedding, Purple Wedding, I guess spoiler warning if you're not caught up, the last 2 episodes as well, too, for season 6. So 2 very different shows. 2 shows that are set in different worlds. You have Zombie Apocalypse, of course, which is a more horror, thriller type of universe. You have Game of Thrones, which is a more fantasy type universe, of course. So based on that, it's going to be what people like better is probably going to be which genre they tend to gravitate towards. People who love fantasy stories, maybe their favorite movie series is Lord of the Rings, or anything that includes fantasy, sword fighting, anything of the sort. Game of Thrones, I would say, would probably be their favorite, be more appealing to them. Walking Dead, of course, if you like zombie apocalypse movies, and we never really got to see anything like The Walking Dead created with regards to zombies until Robert Kirkman came along. He basically gave life back to a genre that's dead. And I almost want to say, fantasy's always there too, and there's always movies and stuff for fantasy. But definitely Game of Thrones, I think, has brought up fantasy as well too, and really brought it into the mainstream. Both series right now on TV, compared to almost anything else, there's not many shows on TV right now, I want to say, that have the same kind of followings that these 2 do. You have Walking Dead. If you look at AMC's channel, like 500,000 subscribers. Huge channel. Some of the trailers and stuff get to the front page of YouTube sometimes, is how many people love the show. It's like the #1 rated show on cable. In terms of viewership, it's not unheard of for it to smash 15 million views an episode, 16 million views an episode, and with regularity do, 14 million, 15 million for seasons on end. Game of Thrones, of course, with HBO with the paid per model, not the same type of model, can't really compare. But HBO has kind of a even, I want to say with Game of Thrones, even a more hardcore fan base, because if you look at their YouTube channel, they had over 1 million. Was it like 2 million? Is it 2 million now, or over 1.5 million? Last time I checked, something like that. Subscribers for Game of Thrones, and their only Game of Thrones official account. That's how many people are that hardcore about it. So that gives you some kind of numbers to go by. And the subscriptions for HBO skyrocket every time Game of Thrones is on and everything. It's the biggest show they've ever had for sure. And I mean, both series are incredible, so it depends what you like in terms of which one's going to appeal to you better. Like I said, they're two different types of stories, but there is some crossover because you have character death concentrations in both. You have some, some different types of drama-related stories that you could see similar in both. I think the main difference between the two, aside from their genre, and of course, obviously, the characters are much different, but Game of Thrones, the one thing that it does, which is quite a bit different, and A Song of Ice and Fire, which is quite a bit different from The Walking Dead, is it kills off just about everybody you would expect, like anybody you would expect to survive, just as a viewer or a reader. Like it kills off Rick Grimes, right? Game of Thrones kills off Rick Grimes and kills his entire family and Carl. That's Game of Thrones, right? That's if you want to make it equivalent or as close as you can get. That's the structure. It's a much different kind of crazier, more unsettling type of story than The Walking Dead. I would say it's darker because you have Rick getting killed. You have your main cast characters all getting killed. In a lot of it pretty quickly. In the first season, you have your Rick, I would say, getting killed in Game of Thrones, the equivalent of Rick in there. And then other characters over the seasons kind of pull ahead, and they kind of become, some of the main protagonists in that. And it's just really exciting to see because you never know. There's really no predictableness at all. You can't have any idea unless you read or see something online or something. What's going to happen is very, very hard to predict and see. It's the most unpredictable series ever, probably, for viewers that have seen it first time through. Walking Dead, on the other hand, it's pretty unpredictable for the most part. Laurie's death, Shane's death, some of the stuff that Kirkman's done. But it is definitely a little bit more reserved, I want to say, with character deaths. You still have Carl, you still have Rick, they're still alive. Yeah, you lose Laurie and, maybe Andrew in the TV series. So it is unpredictable to a degree, but it's not, it doesn't go for it as much as Game of Thrones with regards to killing off characters that you would never expect. Game of Thrones really does that and creates some incredible tension later on in the series because you really have no idea when a hero or a villain's going to win, and you really feel like, I really don't know because, is John going to beat Ramsay? Is he really and it really creates a pretty incredible, exciting feeling when you're watching those episodes through, for sure. So, my personal opinion of the series, this is how I go. After seeing both series many times over the 6 seasons, many times through. Been reviewing Walking Dead since season 1, episode 1. Reviewed the comic series before the TV series started here on YouTube in my previous channel. Game of Thrones, started reviewing that after the second season, which I had heard it was awesome. People started telling me online. I'm like, gotta pick it up. Been reviewing it since the second season. Both shows have grown tremendously and have huge followings, like I said. For me personally, I feel like because I read the Walking Dead comic book series first, and because comic books appeal to me more than novels, because I'm a visual person, and visual people, they're really going to like, if you do like a IQ test, you can kind of tell where you lie. Some people are more, they're not so visual as I am, but I'm very visual, so that's why I have like video, YouTube channel, this kind of stuff into visuals. So for me, the comic book series of The Walking Dead was more appealing than with, the novels, of course, which I struggle to read all the way through, and it takes a really long time to read all the way through. It takes many hours. I'd say longer to read through all of A Song of Ice and Fire than it would be to go through the comic book series of The Walking Dead. So, for me, my favorite, in terms of which one I enjoy watching more over the seasons as a whole, up to the end of season 6, I would have to say, in terms of my favorite, is still going to be The Walking Dead at this point. It is. Even though the last 2 episodes of Game of Thrones really made a case to kind of be like, the quality of those episodes, what they did in those episodes, some of the big payoffs in Game of Thrones, Blackwater and Hardhome, and some of the episodes they do are better, I think, than anything objectively The Walking Dead has ever done. Even though No Way Out is incredible, and I'd say it's probably better than majority of those, but some of the ones in Game of Thrones, like I said, those special select few kind of finale episodes, in terms of quality and in terms of how they're done and everything, and writing and everything, I'd say are probably better than anything The Walking Dead really has to offer, I would say. So in terms of quality, like which show is a better quality, I definitely would have to say Game of Thrones, I think, is of better quality. Even though The Walking Dead is my favorite, and has been, pretty much all the way through, Game of Thrones has impressed me, and it's gotten me to the point where it's getting a little bit more fuzzy with regards to which one my favorite is. After I watched those last 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, I was like, wow, did I enjoy this even more than Season 6 of The Walking Dead? You guys know I enjoy some Dead, right? And I actually got some fuzzy logic. I got confused. I was like, okay, here's the best way to look at it. Walking Dead, my favorite in terms of fun factor and what I like, but I can clearly tell that, Game of Thrones is of incredible quality, something of which I can compare almost no series to, except for maybe Breaking Bad, because Breaking Bad had its 5 seasons with a season 5 split, and it was concise. Like they started off Breaking Bad, they knew what they wanted to do, they knew when they were going to end it, and they didn't really have too much filler in Breaking Bad all the way through. If you look at its IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes ranking, it's pretty close to perfect. It's in the 9s. I think it's actually higher than Game of Thrones. But after this season of Game of Thrones, I'd say that in terms of quality, I think Game of Thrones just has that kind of classical. The stuff that Cersei does in season 6 is the type of shit that fairy tale evil queens would be jealous of. It's like, I'm not a big Shakespeare guy. Ever since high school, I haven't gotten into it, but I almost want to say, like, the writing in Game of Thrones, the writing of A Song of Ice and Fire is just it's so incredible for me as a reader that it's just like, wow, mind blown so many times throughout the series, mind blown. Just crazy, man, just crazy. So again, Breaking Bad, another series which is somewhat similar. You have Ozymandias, one of the best episodes there as well too, and Granite State, the last few episodes there to the finale of Breaking Bad, really incredible. There are not many shows I would put in those 3 in terms of discussion. You're gonna, like, some people say The Wire is great. I haven't watched it all the way through. Sopranos, stuff like that. There's some really great series like that out there, but for me, those 3 stick out to be my favorite, and the ones that I view as kind of like being the best in terms of quality. So to simplify, The Walking Dead for me has the fun factor. It has, my favorite type of universe, the zombie apocalypse, is probably my favorite type of universe maybe ever created. Maybe something that could compete with Marvel or DC universes and all the different things those have spawned. And Game of Thrones, of course. So, man, that's where it's at for me. I just view, like, some of the episodes Game of Thrones has done in terms of quality incredible. It could be partially because the episodes are longer, and sometimes they do an episode which is really like almost 2 episodes of The Walking Dead. So Battle of the Bastards, which is like a movie, for example, or Winds of Winter, if it's over an hour with no commercials, then you're comparing it to an episode of The Walking Dead like No Way Out, which is really 42 minutes unless they do an extended episode. It would be kind of difficult for a 42-minute episode to beat the amount of stuff that's covered in the Winds of Winter or Battle of Bastards, but also because Game of Thrones is on its way, and just like Breaking Bad is on its way, or ended in a certain set time, it was able to kind of have a faster pace and kind of hit these plot points they wanted to go for, kind of cram it at that point, whereas The Walking Dead's trying to spread it out over the long term. So Walking Dead's still my favorite series ever. Ground has been broken, though. Game of Thrones this year after season 6 is like, it's gotten closer to being, there. It'd probably be number 2 for me right now, for sure, after Walking Dead. And it gained a little bit of ground, I want to say, but Walking Dead Season 6 was still an incredible season, too. So you guys can write your comments below. That's kind of the way I see it. I would also say, for example, I like Walking Dead better than Breaking Bad, but I do think Breaking Bad is probably done with better quality, for the most part, than Walking Dead. You don't really get too many episodes in Breaking Bad that are like still, or some of the worst episodes The Walking Dead has, for example. Because it does have a few here and there that aren't the best, for sure. That, you can tell they're doing a lot of episodes, and sometimes they have to kind of fill out the seasons a little bit, that kind of deal. So it's just the nature of what it is, 2 different types of series, and that's kind of where I lie with it. So let me know what you guys think. Write your comments below. Do you like both shows? I know most people, from what I've found, are purists. They only like one, they only like the other. Maybe they can't get into the fantasy, type of story. They're just like, they just can't get into it. Or vice versa, they view The Walking Dead as Game of Thrones, say Walking Dead's trash. Some of them just call it trash. Again, they're playing on. I think they're playing on the quality argument, which I mean, I have to agree with. It's better. HBO's better quality, but also they do the episodes back to back, and it's like 10 episodes, no commercials, extended. It's like an event when they do it. Walking Dead, the season is split up. You know, it's kind of what it is, and you get it more consistently. Again, even with a story too, more consistently over time, longer period of time. So yeah, that'll be it for my comparison video, guys, and my thoughts on both. I hope you liked it. And write yours in the comments below. Feel free to fight. This is the fighting video. So if you want to fight, you want to argue with each other, go ahead. Go ahead. And yeah, that's all I got to say about it in terms of favoritism and which I enjoy more. Walking Dead is still number one for me. Game of Thrones broke some ground. It got closer. And I can see in terms of quality, yeah, it's probably done better than the way AMC does it. It would have been cool to see if The Walking Dead would have gotten into HBO, because it was offered to HBO before AMC. And HBO turned it down. They didn't want Walking Dead. They were like, that's not going to work. I don't want that. We'll get Game of Thrones instead. Yeah, let's go with Game of Thrones. So I wonder if they regret that decision now. Probably not, but they should have picked up both. That's it for this video, guys. If you liked the video, please don't forget to thumb it up below. You can also share. You can favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe, want to see more videos like this from me, more Walking Dead, more Game of Thrones, subscribe, bottom left. That's it for this video, guys. See you again real soon for another. Tomorrow for Game of Thrones or Walking Dead video. I'm not sure which. It's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See ya. You better subscribe.